welcome inside episode 5 of the Scully Scoop podcast. I'm your host, Adam Scully. Thanks so much for all the feedback around the earlier episodes. Nice to have an NHLer on, Anthony Cirelli. He's a great story. He also scored the Memorial Cup winning goal in his OHL rookie season back in 2015 and now is doing big things with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Wouldn't a Tampa-Toronto series? How good would that be? Let's hope the NHL can get back soon. And speaking of the NHL, that's where I'm going again with a guest this week. When the NHL halted play due to COVID-19, the Calgary Flames were third in the NHL's Pacific Division. One of their players on their team playing in his first year, that's Milan Lucic, and he joined me on the Scully Scoop podcast. Pleased to welcome in Milan Lucic of the Calgary Flames. Milan, how's life in COVID been for you?
I think it's been the same as everyone else. You know, a little bit of Groundhog's Day here. Every day kind of feels the same. You know, when Friday pops around, you're like, oh my God, it's Friday. You know, every day's got the same feel. But to be honest, you know, trying to make the most of it. You know, just spending a lot of time with my family, my wife, my kids. You know, bonding with them. We were in Calgary for a good chunk of it, and lately we've been in Vancouver, so you know, a little bit of nicer weather. So yeah, just doing what I can to stay in shape. Trying to figure out what it's like to be in grade 1 again, teaching my my oldest daughter. You know, helping her with her online schooling and stuff like that. But just I think right now I got to say, I think everyone around the world's kind of in the same boat as far as everything goes.
You mentioned staying in shape. Do you have any equipment, or are you doing a lot of body weight stuff? What sort of workouts are you doing?
Thankfully, I do have equipment. My wife bought some equipment because she likes to work out at home, and now it's getting put to full use. So you never know when those things are going to come in handy for yourself. So I've been using those things on a daily basis. So I'm thankful that I have things at home that I can use, and also I got one of those trailers for my bike, so I've been taking the kids out for bike rides, and the little man who's almost 2 years old sits in the back trailer, so I take him out for, you know, hour-long bike rides whenever I can as well.
Whatever it takes to stay in shape, that's for sure. Now, whenever you guys do come back, likely it'll be in front of no fans. Just how weird would that be?
Yeah, it would definitely be weird. You know, I guess you can kind of compare it to what it was like when you were a younger guy, you know, playing in inter-squad games, trying to make teams, whether it was junior teams, NHL teams. You know, I remember back then it was all about those inter-squad games, and you know, those were like regular season games or playoff games. You know, just trying to make teams. And, you know, I guess it would kind of be the same thing as that, because you were going out there doing whatever you can to get noticed and kicking the crap out of each other and trying to score goals and stuff like that. So, but you know what? On another note, you know, it's obviously you love the fans, you play for the fans provide energy. There's nothing like scoring a home goal. You know, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially Stanley Cup finals, which I've been fortunate enough to do, and the fans go crazy. There's nothing like that feeling and them going wild. But, you know, sometimes, you know, in the middle of the play, you know, you're so in the zone when you're so competitive, you know, you kind of block everything out and you're just focusing on the play. So I think, you know, once the competitive juices get flowing, you're just going to focus on the play and go from there.
Do you think it would almost feel like a practice in some ways? Because obviously there's a handful of people watching you guys practice. It might be something similar.
You know what? Maybe it'll be less pressure, like a practice, you know, because sometimes the fans, you know, add the pressure, and sometimes, you know, the fans make it harder for buildings to go into and play and win in. I know, you know, places like Vegas and Nashville, and I remember, you know, playing in Chicago in the Cup Finals, how loud and intimidating that was. And I know how, you know, players and new teammates have told me how hard it was coming into Boston back in the day when I was there, and even still now, you know, coming in there, and how intimidating it was because of the fans. So maybe it'll create less pressure for guys, and so we'll see what happens with that as well. So guys tend to do more things and and get creative in practice. So maybe you'll see a little bit more creativity and less pressure, and guys doing things like they do in practice in games now.
Now, there is talk when the NHL does return. It would only be at a few sites or in a few cities. How weird would that be?
It would be different. I think it would, kind of be like I guess an experience for me. It would be kind of like a Memorial Cup type of feel, or for guys who have played in the World Championships, I guess it would be like a World Championships type of feel or a World Junior type of feel. So guys have experienced that before. Obviously, never at the NHL level, but you know what? If that's what it takes to get us on the back on the ice to start playing and to finish the season and reward a Stanley Cup winner, I'm all for it. Because when you play 70 games into a season and you put all that time, blood, sweat, and tears and effort into those 70 games, you'd like to see if you'd like to see a chance to try to win the ultimate reward, and if this is what it takes to for that chance, I'm all for it.
You mentioned the ultimate reward. You've won that before. This is your first season in Calgary. When you guys do come back, whether it's this summer or a little later, how do you like the way your team sits and looks like with the playoffs possibly just around the corner?
Yeah, you know what? That was one of the things that upset me about this pause in the season. Obviously, it was necessary because there's bigger things going on than the game of hockey with this COVID-19. But I really liked the way that our team was playing. I really liked the way that our team was trending. I felt like we were playing a really good playoff type of hockey down the stretch, and with 12 games left, I really felt like we were going to ride some momentum into the playoffs, and we were going to be a hard team to beat 4 times in a 7-game series. So, but right now, anything can happen, right? Everyone's in the same boat. It's not like one team is practicing and another team is not. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's all going to work out. But I really like our team. I really like what Brad Treliving's done with the makeup of our team. I really like the way Jeff Ford has come in with his coaching staff and has us playing. So I'm excited to see what we can do once we get back on the ice together.
I got to ask you about one game in particular. Calgary, Edmonton, goalie fight at center ice. Haven't seen one of those in a couple of years. What was that experience like? I believe you were on the bench at the time.
Yeah, it was. You know what? Those are the type of things that, especially a guy like me, wishes he was on the ice for. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen a goalie fight. I think the last one I saw was when Tim Thomas and Carey Price squared off back in 2011. I think it was January or February, one of those times. But you know what? I think it's great for the Battle of Alberta, great for the game. I think all 4 games have had a lot of drama, a lot of excitement, a lot of goals, a lot of hits. A lot of fights, a lot of those things, and that rivalry's back. People are interested in it. People are talking about it, and it's been a long time coming. So, you look forward to more of those games coming up, and the way that the standings were kind of shaping up. There's a pretty good chance that we would have met each other in the first round of the playoffs, and I know a lot of hockey fans and Albertans were excited for that. So. Maybe we'll see that in the near future.
Yeah, that would definitely be some must-see TV for sure. Now, during this time off, you recently did a Zoom call with the entire 2011 Stanley Cup winning Bruins team. Saw some shots of that on Twitter. What was that like for you?
It was awesome. You know what? It was like we were right back in the dressing room back in 2011. I think that was the first time that whole group was back together since our ring ceremony back in October of 2011. So it was great to get everyone back together on a Zoom call. Obviously, a lot of laughs, a lot of chirping, watching that game together. Like I said, it felt like we were right back together, in the dressing room. And And our 10-year anniversary, 10 years coming up next summer. And I know we all talked about getting together and having some kind of reunion to get all the boys back together. And I think a lot of people saw how much fun we had on that call. So, if it's not getting together in person, I'm sure we'll have another Zoom call in a year from now. So it was a special group, and I'm really fortunate that I got to be a part of a winning group like that.
It's hard to believe you've almost played 1,000 games in the NHL already. You're at 958 right now. How much do you think the game has changed since you first played your first game in the NHL back in 2007?
Yeah, it's changed a lot in a lot of different ways. Not just the on-ice stuff, a lot of the off-ice stuff too. The way the guys train, the way the guys eat. Like guys, I almost feel like guys aren't even drinking milk anymore. It's all about almond milk and what type of bottled water they'll only drink and special diets. There's some guys that are like vegan now and all that type of stuff. And even weight training has changed and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of things that have changed in the game. And I feel like skating's become a big part of the game. So you see a lot of, I guess you could say the average size of the guys have gone a lot smaller than they were back when I joined the league in 2007. I think you're probably seeing, it being a 4-line game more now today versus what it was in 07, where it was, top heavy, where the top 2 lines were playing 22, 21 minutes a night. And then the bottom guys, the fourth liners. Well, I remember because I was a fourth liner for the first, 50 games of my career, averaging 5.5 minutes a night, where fourth liners now are playing 9 to 12 minutes. And it seems like every player, means so much to a team's success. And I think the overall competitive balance is become so much more. And I feel like every team has a chance to win on a night-to-night basis. And, I was talking to one GM when I was just walking by him at our practice facility there in Calgary. And, he said to me, it's almost harder now to make the playoffs than it is to win the Stanley Cup, because going into the year, there's probably 22 teams that, could win the Stanley Cup at the end of the year, when back then there was probably a handful of teams that you could say, okay, they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So, I think that's where the game has evolved. And that's why I think even with an 82-game schedule, every win matters and every point matters. And it's made it that much more difficult to make the playoffs year to year.
Something you mentioned early on there is nutrition. There's the keto diet. There's intermittent fasting. Have you tried any of these before and had any success?
You know what? I have tried them. I did the keto thing, but I was kind of going crazy with the, I like to have, I like to have some sugar at the end of the day.
Yeah. You like to eat.
Yeah. You like to eat, like we work so hard, we have calories, like 2-3 times a week. You like to have a scoop of ice cream and treat yourself once in a while. I'm only human. It's really funny. This intermittent fasting thing is a thing. In high school, I remember I'd wake up, wouldn't eat breakfast, go to school, be at school all day. And then my first meal was when I came home from school. So I guess I've been doing intermittent fasting my whole life, I feel like. My teenage years. So I guess I have done that, and it worked for me in my teenage years. But you know what, to be honest, I've tried them all. At the end of the day, what I figured out, you got to do what makes you feel good. Some diets I feel like I'm a little lightheaded. Some diets I feel sluggish, all that type of stuff. So, I just go by what makes my body feel the best. I try to mix in a little bit of carbs, proteins, fruits, vegetables, all that type of stuff. Drink a lot of water. I've never been a big guy that drinks a lot of juice and all that type of stuff. So I stay away from the liquid sugars and all that type of stuff. And I do like to treat myself with some chocolate or something like that at the end of the night. So, but yeah, you've had, like, even myself, I've had to evolve with the nutrition stuff, especially I'm in my early 30s now. I'll be 32 in June. And, Yeah, it's also been, you know what, I've had fun with it, just the trial
Mm-hmm.
and error with the nutritional stuff as well.
You mentioned trial and error there. How have you adjusted your off-season fitness training? Were you doing more of like a power and strength training with like a bench squat deadlift back in the day? And are you still doing that sort of thing, or have you adjusted at all?
Well, that was one of the things what I talked about where fitness has evolved from
Mm-hmm.
when I started in the league to what it is now, where back in the day, I think it was about, how much can I lift?
Mm-hmm.
How much can I power clean? How much can I deadlift? How much can I squat? Um, can I ride a bike for 2 hours? Can I go for an hour run? And I think the science of fitness has evolved. It's almost work smarter, not harder. Work training the nervous system. I remember we had like 3.5 hour workouts back
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, and now science has shown what that does to the nervous system. It actually fatigues it and it works against you. So you can compact those 3.5 hour workouts into an hour 15 hour 20-minute workout, and you're getting the same results. So
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned, especially at my age, is working harder, working smarter, getting what you need to get, doing what you can to stay healthy, keeping your hips, your joints, everything mobile. And I think that's where the science of fitness has evolved. And to be honest, I've had a lot of fun with that as well.
Okay, two fun ones before we let you go. If you had to be quarantining with one teammate, who would it be?
Right now, I would probably pick Giordano. I think just because we're, uh, similar age, kind of grew up playing in the same era. And, we sit together in the back of the plane and we share a lot of stories and have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of similar interests and all that type of stuff. And so I think we would have a good time quarantine together. He likes to go hard in the gym like I do. And, you know, he likes to have a scoop of ice cream at the end of the night like I do. So, and a glass of wine. So, you know what? I think I'd pick him right now.
Okay, on the other side of things, who would be one teammate that you just couldn't stand? It'd be a couple hours, enough, different house, let's go.
See, this is a tough one. You know what? I get along with a lot of guys on the team. Um, someone already asked me this. Yeah, it's a tough one. I try to think of the guys who like are stinky and smelly and messy and don't pick up after themselves and all that type of stuff. But we don't have a lot of guys on the team. But it's a tough question. I don't really
Yeah,
want to throw anyone on the
that's
bus
fair.
here.
That's fair.
Um, at the top of my head, I can't think of anyone right now. Sorry, I don't have an answer
No,
for you.
it's okay. It's okay. Well,
Yeah.
Milan, hey, we really appreciate your time today. All the best here going forward, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys on the ice very soon.
Thank you so much. Stay safe and all the best.
Anderson. He finds Dubé. In with Lucic. Plays it over. Lucic scores!
Many thanks again to Milan Lucic for joining us here on the podcast today. 958 career NHL games, 521 career points, and of course, Stanley Cup champion back in 2011 with the Boston Bruins, hoping to get number 2 this year with the Calgary Flames if and when the NHL does return. Really interesting too about the nutrition he's tried, how his fitness has evolved over the years. Looking forward to dropping this episode. Well, this has been episode 5 of the Scully Scoop podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes, watch us and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at Scully Scoop. This has been another fun episode. Looking forward to dropping episode 6 very soon. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.